Stop Working Broke podcast, hosted by Chad Murray. If you're buried in jobs, chasing checks, and your phone goes quiet the second you stop pushing, you're not alone. Here, you'll get real tips and straight advice to fix your systems, tighten up your team, and create steady leads, because we build freedom by fixing what keeps you stuck. Let's get to it. Thank you for coming to the podcast. I am Chad Murray, your host today. Today, our topic is $1 million tasks you must master to scale your business. And so then we're talking, if you're trying to get out of your rut, if you're trying to really grow your business, this is what I coach. This is what made me successful. This is what I've been taught by, other coaches. I've watched and mentored other friends and mentored me. This is the conglomerate of tasks, mindsets, and things your business needs to do through you to get it set up to where you want to be where you want to be. And so this is going from the technician to an owner to an entrepreneur, and building this format of your business to be exactly what you want. This is how you build your freedom. This is how you create wealth. This is how you really do be able to expand your mind and your business to be what you wanted it to be when you first started it. Remember the days when you just didn't want to work for somebody else, but you had this dream of, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to do this, and all these elaborate things that you had in your mind, which are all possible, but you have to know how to get there. And building a business to be able to get there is what this podcast is really about. This episode is about stop working broke, start building your business, work in the business, work on the business, work everything with the business to where it is going to start benefiting you to get where you want to be in life. Now, if you're a workaholic, you still build the business to where it doesn't rely on you, but you get to do what you want to do. If for instance, you own a mechanic, if you like working on cars and you own a shop, okay, well, let's build a 4-bay shop. You can work in 1 bay, and while you have the other 3 bays working with cars, yet you're the cream. Whatever you make, who cares? You don't even have to be there, but you like doing it, so you're there. That's the kind of business that if you build, doesn't matter if you get sick, doesn't matter if you want to retire, you sell, you now have everything you need to have a business functioning without you bringing you in the cash, giving you the life that you'd want to do. And if you want to work forever and do it like that, great, but you won't struggle anymore. So here's what we're going to do. First, these are the steps that I'm going to go through, and then we're going to talk about some specific tasks. So first, design the machine. You need a vision, a model, and the strategy. Okay? You're going to need an org chart of leadership, and that's how you're going to design it. So this is this is what you're going to do today, this week, this month. Whenever you're ready, you need that vision, model, strategy, and the way you start is build an org chart of what it looks like today. And it might, if you're listening and you are a solopreneur and that's just you, sit down and look at what does my business look like if I was doing $5 million, $10 million. Like you need a COO, which could be you. You need a sales manager. You need a general manager. You need a call center manager. You need an operations manager. You're going to need maybe shift leaders, whatever. Design that. And it's going to be a living document, so who cares? But design what that looks like, especially in the next year or two. Okay. Now we got to staff that machine. We need to replace the bad and average employees. We need to start training on sales and production, better products or better procedures. We need to train leadership and management and get that education. And you need to start building relationships and figure out who you're hanging around with. That's how we staff the machine. Then after we staff the machine, we need to systemize the machine. Systems and processes, upgrade the products and services, and client experience and retention. All these are the things that we have to do for systemizing that machine. Now, what do? We got to fuel it. We got to fuel the machine. Marketing, Sales, better sales, how to sell better. Okay. Measure and protect the machine. Accounting and books, scorecards, KPIs, weekly rhythm, basic risk compliance type of stuff. Just, all these kind of things that are going to, if something bad happens, or at least know some stuff, or you need to set yourself up to pay your taxes correctly, build it up there, save money. All that's how you protect the machine and measure it. And then you got to grow the owner. Okay. State, story, and habits. And then who you spend your time with. These are the things that you are going to really need to conquer. All of that. So to just kind of repeat that, you got to design the machine, staff the machine, systematize the machine, fuel the machine, measure and protect the machine, and then grow yourself, grow the owner. All right. So let's talk about clarity, vision, model, and strategy. So clear primary aim. This is why the business exists for you and your life. I mean, you didn't just start this just because you hated your boss, although that was probably a big factor, but you did it because you wanted a better life. So a strategic objective, what the business will look like at scale, decisions on who you serve, what you're the best at in the world, and and this is important, what you don't want to do. So you need that kind of vision. So Mike Lee Gerber, who wrote, one of the best books out there, working on the business, design the business as a system. Tony Robbins says, get crystal clear on the outcome and the compelling future. So these are things that we have to do to clarify the vision and clarify everything. So let's talk about some tasks. And these are the tasks that I really, you can start working on now to start getting this all to align and start coming together. Number one task, as you're building your business, and let's say you're beyond the solopreneur, you've had the same, let's say you're getting close to $1 million, maybe $2 million in annual revenue. And I'm sorry, the first thing you're going to need to do, and it's the first thing I tell people when they start working for me if they have employees, the people that got you here are more than likely not the people who are going to scale your business. You probably hired them with zero skill, their friends or family, and they don't have the education. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't be part of this. So I'm not saying you're going to wipe your company out, although a lot of times you will. You'll start replacing 1-2 people, and by the time into this, you've replaced everybody possibly. But there are, I'm not going to even call them unicorns, because there are people that are going to grow with you, and they want to learn with you, and they want to be with you. Those people are out there. I mean, my core management staff at the business that I own for 29 years is, well, other than the ones who have retired, are still there. And so, I mean, they've been with me for 20 years. There's that situation that, you are people that are going to want to stay with you, and then they're going to be worth staying with you. But I will tell you, the majority of the people, you got people with bad attitudes that you feel like you can't run the business without. You got people that just don't pull their weight. They're not hitting your numbers. This is why it gets super important to start tracking your numbers. I love starting to coach somebody who's got like $1 million, $1.5 million. We start tracking their numbers, and we find out that these people working for them are like 30% of what the average of what they should be at standard wide for the niche that they're in. I can only talk chimneys for the most part, but I mean, I have dealt with HVAC people and plumbers, and for instance, a plumber should be bringing in X amount of dollars. And then you come, for a week, and you come to find out, I start coaching a plumber, and then their plumbers on the average are bringing in like literally half of what they should be bringing in. And so now some of that can be that the training's not there, or the pricing's wrong and stuff. But by tracking your numbers, you don't know until you start finding them out. But that does come down to a lot of times the people that when you start knowing your numbers, you start training. These people are not trainable. Not they're not willing to budge or move much to the new systems, and that's why I say that's where it's going to happen. And I will tell you, I have had, oh, let's say 25 home or business owners look at me and go, "My staff's awesome." Nobody, when I tell them that we're going to be going through this in the next year or so, 2 years maybe, they're like, "Nope, my people are great." Come about anywhere from 9 months to a year and a half, we've turned over half the staff. Because once you start holding everybody accountable and you start asking for things that that they aren't used to doing, which is within the wheelhouse of their job to do for sure, and they don't get it done, and you're like, well, I need this, and they're like, well, I don't have time, or they start saying stuff and start coming up with it. It doesn't matter. They don't do it. So anyway, so be ready and start thinking that person that you think you can't live without, you start putting the screws to him, and guess what? He can't work for you anymore, or she. All right. Number two task is everybody, especially when they start approaching the $1 million mark, they think they got it down. Like I got it. I don't need any better products or services. I'm on it. And they come to find out, in the back of their mind, they know there's a couple products they should be selling that upgrades, but they can't see to, well, those are expensive. My better competition is selling that stuff, that kind of stuff. So you have a lot of stuff in your own mind that's causing you, these things that you have in your head that are not telling you the truth about stuff. And so, when I look at a lot of this stuff and upgrading products and stuff, it's like I got a perfect example. So I trained my uncle to be a chimney company 20 years ago, maybe even longer. And I was not a good chimney company then, and they never. So he started his chimney company, just easy cleaning and simple stuff. And then all of a sudden, I got certified, started learning stuff like, oh my god, shouldn't do this anymore. I got to do this, and better standard operating procedures, better products. Well, I kind of had some thoughts on some products that I didn't use that were from in the wheelhouse of my vendors that I used. Well, I was the big boy on the block. And then one day my uncle goes, hey, are you using this, this, and this? I said, no, I don't use that stuff. He goes, okay. He goes, well, it's easy. I make a lot of money on this. And I was just kind of like, okay, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I didn't really look into it too much. And then it took 2 years. Finally, one day I'm looking in the catalog, and it starts, I start remembering what these products were that my uncle was telling me about. I'm like, golly, that's the main products that we use. This is in their catalog. Sorry, catalog. And I'm just like, why are we not using these? Because my mind was closed to using anything new. We added 3 new product lines, created a bundle out of it to where it was an entire package, and sold it to everybody. I mean, we're talking about every client that this was eligible for, not only got estimated, bought it. I mean, we're talking like $1,000 on a cost that cost me probably 100 to 150. Labor was stupid easy to do it. So you may talk about a ton of money just by adding these new, easy, upgraded type of products. I mean, and that's exactly what they were. That was my mindset, is these were upgraded, not necessarily needed products. And it's like, I needed to package it correctly, package it to where they should be needed, and show the value of what they were, put them in a package deal to where they can't say no to one and yes to another one, and boom. Next thing you know, I mean, we're taking, a $7,000-8,000 job and making it at least 8,000 or 9,000. Selling, you go sell 15,000 or 15 jobs a week. You sell every single person one of these packages. Like literally, you just made $15K more a week. That's what happened to us from adding 3 easy products. So if you don't think you have products you can sell or do, boy, I'm telling you, I know you do. And if you're thinking you can't or won't, open your mind. All right. The next thing is easy. The next one's easy, and it doesn't even have to cost you much. Training. Training. You can read a book for $3 or even sometimes free, or even if it costs you $10 to buy a book on Audible or you buy an actual book. So what? Training. The best way to start upping your sales and to start scaling is to take care of that sales department. Whoever's selling for you, get them selling better to every client they show up to. So right now, this is where you get to know your numbers. If your average ticket is $500, one of the things you should know, obviously, what is the average ticket of the industry? Like, if you're part of industries associations, you can find this information out. So when in the chimney industry, we can find stuff out like that, and we come to find out that your average ticket in the chimney industry, I'm going to go back a few years now. We'll say about 7 or 8 years ago. Average ticket was about 12 to $1,500. Now it's like quadruple that. But I'm just saying back then, and my average ticket was $325. And I flipped a lid like, holy shit, I've got to get my crap together here, because we're one of the largest companies already, and our ticket sales suck, but our marketing was lying. So we had a lot more appointments than everybody else, which is how we made money. But my God, what if I just took and made it better at every client's house we're at now? Hence, we started training on sales process and better. So we had a good sales process at the time, but we needed to make it better. So we did. And then we did the opposite on the production. How do we make production better? And this just comes down with thinking, talking to everybody. Like, how can we take an all-day job and make it 6 hours? How can we take an all-day job, possibly make it 5 hours? How can we make it a half a day? All these type of things. Can you do it? How do you upgrade to do that? I mean, training. For sure. Okay. So, as you can kind of tell, we're kind of leaning towards, you got to educate. You have to educate. So the training is education. And the next thing is, and it was the last thing on the model that we talked about before, but you have to educate leadership skills. You don't know how to lead. I promise you, you don't. Until you start learning how to lead, learning how to talk, learning who your people are, like doing DISC assessments, doing a DISC assessment on yourself. That's a personality analysis of how you work and who you are, and can predict how you're going to react. And so I'm not going into a DISC training here today, but it is something that is super powerful. And you start learning how to lead with knowing who you are, and then knowing how to assess everybody else. And then you have to start learning and educate yourself on how to manage. I mean, nobody taught you this at school. They don't even teach you this seriously in college. Like, you don't know. And when you don't know, you're guessing. So you have to start reading the books, starting taking classes. You have to, figure out how to educate yourself to manage and to lead. I mean, most leaders become leaders before the common era. Let's just go back. I'll just use the movie Braveheart. Okay. I mean, how did Mel Gibson become a leader in that movie? Well, it's because his wife was murdered and he started to rebel. People started following him, and he started learning to be a leader because of circumstance. Well, luckily, we don't have to have our wives and people murdered for us to do it in business. But you start getting murdered with your sales going bad. You're always hiring people. I mean, it feels like you're constantly going through chaos, and feels like you're in a murder scene sometimes, because you know what I'm talking about. All of you own a business have felt like that, and you wonder, how do I get out of this? Well, you have to educate yourself. Of course, you can always hire a business coach. A little segue here to, of course, if you're looking and you want to speed all this up and go light years ahead of everybody else, go ahead and look down in the comments of this podcast or this viral video or whatever, and go ahead and contact me and let's talk about how we can set these steps in motion for you to start scaling. I promise you, no matter what I charge, which I promise you is not out of your wheelhouse, you will end up, I will be free. I will make that difference for you every week, every month. You won't feel my pain or your pain of paying me at all, because I will make up for that immediately. Okay. So the next thing to do as you're scaling, the task that you need to do is you have to start doing your books and accounting correctly. You have to know your numbers. You got to get everything right. You got to pay the government. You got to get that really set, because if you don't, as you grow, it's going to really nail you one day. It's going to really cripple you. You're going to get, something's going to happen, and it is going to hurt your business. So do it before you don't get hurt, right? Just do that. Next thing is you got to up your game in marketing. I mean, I say this, if you listen to my podcast, I say it enough. You have to take calculated risk, and sometimes not calculated, to try and see if something works for your marketing. People ask me all the time, is Angie's List worth it? Is doing this, is advertising on Yelp, should I try this magazine? And the question to me always is, I have an opinion on all of those for my businesses. But you know what? There's a reason why some of these are out there and they work. Like Yelp is not very good in Dallas or in Texas generally for the chimney industry. Yet I have a buddy who has a chimney industry in California, in Sacramento, and Yelp, he gets a lot of leads from Yelp. We did not. Same budget, same as he did, and we didn't get much from them. We got a lot of shit reviews, but because everyone always goes on Yelp to complain. But anyway, so we didn't get that. We don't get that. So when someone asked me about Yelp, my experience in my industry, in my state, no. But that doesn't mean you in your state, let's say you're in Ohio, and we go to look at it and we see who's all on Yelp. It's like, well, shit, they're only offering it to you for $300 a month, and that's the max plan. Why don't we try it? Let's try not to sign a contract, which I don't think Yelp makes you sign a contract. It's not Angie's List. But you just try it. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, you're out a couple $100 or $300 and move on. More than likely you'll get enough to pay for it, but we want to get ROI. So anyway, marketing is big. All right. Client retention. Selling people over and over every year. It's one of the best ways as you stay in business to literally have the easiest business in the world, is getting the people who already bought from you to buy again. That, and I promise you, more than likely, 85% of you listening to this right now are not doing that. I don't care if you're even a repeatable business. Unless you actually have a contract to come out every month and do something, subscription like pest control or something like that, like a window washers. Like, do you actually sign somebody up to come back in 6 months to a year? Probably not. You're waiting to call them back. Why don't you just do a contract with them to come back and set the date in 6 months to clean outside only, and then a year later to do outside inside? Hold the price, give them some stack on add-ons that you'll give them, make it worth it to sign a contract, and boom, there you go. Every one of you could do this. Doesn't matter. If you could easily do that. All right. Relationships. Hang around more successful people. You have got to start hanging around with people to where, rudimentarily saying this, you got to be the dumbest guy in the room at some point in time again. And when you are, you start learning. And eventually you're not the dumbest guy in the room. You end up being an average guy of high level people. And then eventually, guess what? You'll hit the pinnacle and be the top of that. But the people you're hanging around with now, I'm not saying that they're not your friends, they're not your hunting buddies, but you have to start thinking about who else you can hang out with that is really going to elevate your business and friendships and stuff like that. I will say, like, I'm still super friendly and friends with most of my high school friends, and we don't do stuff in our 50s now. We don't do stuff like we used to do, even in our early 40s. We go on a ski trip or something, but mainly because a lot of it is because I hang around with people that when I go do stuff, I hang around with people that are a lot smarter than me. I go on vacation with people that own 10, 15, $20 million businesses. That's who we hang around with, or people at minimum have the equivalent business to me. And so that's who I choose to, when I'm not working, who I actually hang out with. And it makes a difference. I've learned a lot on vacations about how to run a business better. Just because what do you do when you're sitting there smoking a cigar, drinking a beer, and all the women are somewhere else? You talk business because that's what we love to do. So, all right. A task for you to do, like I said earlier, was your organizational chart. So write down what you currently have, even if you're a solopreneur. And then you have to start planning for the future. What I didn't say earlier is put a date on it. Like literally, if you're a solopreneur and you know you need to hire somebody to work and be their own truck eventually, put next truck, put a little line, draw an X or draw a box, put your name in it, go line down, do another box, put salesperson or another technician, another truck, whatever it's going to be, and then put a date on it. When are you going to hire that person? And here's the thing: I cannot stand talking to people. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm never ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Blah 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 blah. You're not. You're never gonna be ready. You're not gonna be ready. I mean, there will be times in your life where you'll need it, and then you're not ready the other way because I'm not ready because I waited too long. But either way, I promise you, when you commit and you execute, it will happen, and it will be able to pay for itself. It's crazy how that is. Like the story where I bought 4 trucks I didn't need. And I filled them, and literally took me 3 months to fill them all up when I wasn't hiring more people at the time. But I bought 4 trucks. They had this super sale. This is 20 years ago for $13,000 trucks at this dealership in West Texas, or East Texas. So I went down and bought 4 of them. And everyone thought I was crazy. I'm like, I'm only spending $50K here on 4 trucks that each in 1 month, well, not each, in 1 month at that time, I could get my money back for these trucks if I filled these things up. And guess what? 6 months later, I was making more than that out of those 4 trucks. I mean, seriously. And I didn't even know how I was going to pay for it. I didn't even know how I was going to do the marketing. And that's what I did. Now, was that stupid? Because it worked out? Hindsight? No. Was it stupid? Yeah, it was fucking terribly dumb. But I was stoked and I got motivated and I did. As a matter of fact, I think that was the second time I ever upgraded my sales process. So I had my initial sales process. This is probably like almost 7 or 8 years after being in business. I upped my sales process. I elevated it. And when I went and hired more people, I took away some appointments from my other clients because we elevated the time it was going to take. And I was able to have more appointments without having to go get a whole lot more appointments, take the same appointments we'd always got, added 4 people, and boom. Actually, I added 2 sales guys and 2 work trucks, 2 production trucks. So that's what I did. And it was a very, very good move to do. And so I delegated and I did it. I had an org chart, and that org chart was huge. And when I sold the company a couple months back, I almost had that org chart completely filled out from my initial org chart. Now, I don't have the initial one. I don't recall where it is. But I know I had everything, I think, except for a social media manager. Other than that, I think I had everything on there that I ever wanted. So, if that is important to have. And boy, I remember what it was. So anyway, that is what you have to do to master to scale. Those tasks. You have to design the machine, staff it, systematize the machine, fuel it, measure and protect that machine, and grow yourself as the owner. And that's through vision, clarify vision, model, and strategy. And by doing all this, you will scale your business. And I promise you, I guarantee you, if you do this and you do it on calculated timeline, you will double your business in a year. And if you want help doing it, look in the notes, find my number, find my link, get on my calendar, and I will help you do this. So, guys, that is Stop Working Broke's podcast today. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next week.